Coming up on Network Africa, South Africa to elect new deputy president as the former deputy president David Mabuza publicly resigns. United Nations Peacekeeper in South Africa killed in attack on UN helicopter in the Democratic Republic of Congo. And millions vote in Ethiopia referendum for new region. Hello and welcome to Network Africa. I'm Anne Nwawudu. Thanks for joining us. And we begin with stories and happenings that made headlines over the weekend.
The four South African police officers accused of assaulting and torturing a Nigerian on the 9th of January have made their first court appearance at the Boksburg Magistrate Court over the weekend. The case has been postponed to the 7th of February when their formal bail hearing will take place. The officers, one sergeant and three constables, were arrested on Wednesday by the police watchdog IPID. According to the IPID spokesperson Lizzie Supeng, their charges have now been reviewed from assault with grievous bodily harm and defeating the ends of justice to kidnapping and attempted murder. The officers remain in custody pending the bail hearing next week. Pope Francis arrived at the Cathedral of St. Therese in South Sudan's capital, Juba, on Saturday for a meeting with priests, deacons, consecrated persons, and seminarians. Cheered on by thousands, Pope Francis arrived in his Pope Mobile on Sunday at a mass on the grounds of a mausoleum for South Sudan's liberation hero, John Garang, who died in a helicopter crash in 2005 before the predominantly Christian country gained independence from Muslim Sudan in 2011. Still on Sunday, Pope Francis departed South Sudan. The 86-year-old pontiff wrapped up a peace mission to the country, urging the people to make themselves immune to the venom of hatred to achieve the peace and prosperity that have eluded them through years of bloody ethnic conflicts.
To other stories now, the United Nations Peacekeeper from South Africa have been killed in an attack which was staged on their helicopter in the Eastern Democratic Republic of Congo. According to the United Nations mission in the country, the helicopter came under fire while heading to the city of Goma. The incident wounded another person. MONUSCO strongly condemns the attack in a statement, calling it a cowardly move against an aircraft bearing the United Nations emblem. The South African National Defence Force also confirmed the attack, saying in the process of informing family members of the soldiers who were involved. Meanwhile, Mali's military government has been giving the head of the United Nations Peacekeeping Mission's Human Rights Division 48 hours to leave the country. According to a statement read out, a government spokesman said Guillaume Ngefa Atondoko and Dali had committed subversive action in his selection of witnesses to testify at UN Security Council briefings in Mali. Last month, a Malian civil society activist who gave evidence at a UN meeting accused the government's Russian military partners of serious human rights violations. And after weeks of speculation, South Africa's Deputy President David Mabuza has publicly confirmed that he has resigned. Mr. Mabuza, who was speaking at a family funeral this weekend, where he told those present that he has quit his job to make way for one who will take his place. The president's office has, however, countered this, saying that Mr. Mabuza has been requested to remain in office until the transition to his replacement has been concluded. That replacement is likely to be the new ANC Deputy President, Mr. Paul Mashatile, who has been sworn in to the National Assembly this Monday. While President Ramaphosa can appoint any member of the National Assembly as his deputy, it has been an ANC tradition for the top two government posts to mirror its leadership structure. 62-year-old Mabuza gave the direly needed boost to President Ramaphosa, which enabled him win control of the ANC back in 2017, while securing the number 2 party post for himself.
The picture that has been painted, there is progress in the right direction because more and more departments are getting clean audits. Of course, there are still departments that are getting adverse disclaimers. Some are failing to meet the deadline to submit their audits. Those are areas that we need to attend to. But it does not paint a very bleak and a dim environment. Yes, the School of Governance from time to time is there to support these managers so that they can upskill, they can be retrained in areas, because our public service is not static. It's always evolving, depending on the challenges and demands of a particular time and epoch. That is why the School of Governance is there to support these public servants. So my take is that as much as we're adopting this framework, we're enhancing, we're building on capabilities that were there, we're improving, so that as a developmental state.
Let's bring in our South African Bureau Chief, Betty Dibia, who joins us from Johannesburg, South Africa. Hello, Betty.
Hello, Anne. Good to see you.
Good to see you too. So let's begin with the obvious question. What do you think is the reason why the current Deputy President, David Mabuza, is resigning?
I'm sure you followed the ANC Congress that happened last year, just December last year, where a new deputy president emerged. And most of the time, I see that happening here. Once you're about to have not really two centers of power in this case, but when a mirror of your position happens in the ruling party, they usually step aside or step down. But in the case of Mabuza, probably that is part of it. And also, he's been mostly away because of his health as the deputy president. And he's not been out there most of the time. So probably, I'm saying probably all the time because nothing is certain. But according to the ANC, I think is an unwritten rule, once your position, they often like to have a mirror of the structure, like you have the president as the state president, the ANC president as the state president, the deputy as the deputy as well. So probably he's making way now for his successor, who is now Paul Mashatile, who is the deputy president of the ANC. He was sworn into the National Assembly today. But the president is saying, hold on, let's go through the process properly. You hand over properly before you just let go of the position. So according to the chief whip of the ANC, he is still the deputy president of the state, no longer the top 7 in the ANC, no longer a member of that body. But according to the government, he is still the deputy president. But they acknowledge that he's handed in his resignation.
The ANC had some of its members sworn in today as members of parliament. Are there other frontline candidates? Of course.
Candidates for the position, you mean?
The frontline candidates, yes.
Frontline candidates for deputy president? I don't think so. Now, over the weekend, 4 ANC members resigned their positions. One of them, Mervyn Dirks, who is one of those who stood up during the parliamentary vote against President Ramaphosa, more or less, where he said they should adopt that the report by the panel on the Parapara farm issue. But so they had to fill in that position. Paul Mashatile, the deputy president of the ANC, is among those, and he seemed to be the frontline candidate anyway, but the president can choose anybody. He appoints the deputy president and swears in the deputy president at the union buildings. So it's his prerogative. He will choose, but the frontline candidate, as we see today, is Mr. Paul Mashatile. And for him to be the deputy president, he has to be a member of parliament, which is part of what was done today at the National Assembly.
All right. While we were talking about the first question, you talked about how absent the deputy president has been for a while due to health reasons. But one we now want to ask, according to the South African Constitution, what role and how important is it to be deputy president of South Africa?
Well, for starters, you're number 2 in the country. That's a big role for anybody and for anybody's CV anyway. But the deputy president, according to the Constitution, it's covered in Chapter 5 of the Constitution, I think 83 to 103, where the duties mainly to assist the president. That's really what it is. And the president, because he's the one who is picking you and appointing you, he can tell you to do anything, assign different roles. And when the president is not available, he takes up the position. If the president is away, he takes up the position, except the president picks probably a member of parliament or anybody he wishes to stand in his place for the time he's away, probably visiting another country. And in the case of Mr. David Mabuza, he was also the head, as appointed by the president, if I may add. He was the head of the South Africa National AIDS Council, among other things. But he is usually assigned any role. He can be assigned to do anything by the president. He's appointed by the president, and whatever the president tells him to do, he will do and assist the president in his duties as well.
South Africa is
and
expected to
he's also the head of government business.
All right. So South Africa is expected. Let's talk about the general elections, which is coming up next year. That's 2024. Could the issue of the deputy president who occupies the post be related to that election next year? Will it have any effect on that election?
I doubt it. Everybody expects Mr. Paul Mashatile to be the deputy president. I don't think that will affect. As far as skeletons and scandals, he has his own fair share, maybe not as huge as many of the other politicians. As one of them said, who doesn't have skeletons? But he's an astute politician. He started as a student activist, anti-apartheid activist. He's gone through the provincial, at a point when Mr. Mbazima Shilowa left the ANC to form COPE, when former President Mbeki was recalled. He was the premier of Gauteng at that time for less than a year. So he comes with about 40 years. He's 61. He comes with about 40 years of political life, and he doesn't give much away. He looks quiet, but he's not. But he comes with a lot of experience. I think it will be a plus for the sitting president in that election and for the ANC. Not that he's a saint, as many of them are not, but I don't think that will negatively affect for him as a person or affect the party more than all the other problems that the party has. The party has a lot of issues that it has to deal with to retain even the percentage that they have right now at the National Assembly. Among other things. Right now, I'm speaking to you in the dark. That's a major issue. The issue of ESCOM, the power problem that the country is facing.
All right, but there will be a major...
so many other things.
Yes. There'll be major cabinet reshuffle. It's been expected as well. What can you tell us about that cabinet reshuffle?
I really can't say much. I don't know. We expect the president to speak to the nation. That's the State of the Nation address on Thursday. That's the 9th of February. To hear whatever it is, the plans that he has for the country. And he'll answer questions that some people will send in on some of the things they expect him to, or his government to do. Probably after that, we'll hear who and who may now be in cabinet. Some of those who just recently got sworn in, we expect some of them to appear in cabinet. We don't know. Right now, I can't really tell you definitely, but right after the State of the Nation address on Thursday, we expect a cabinet shakeup, and those will be sworn in not at the National Assembly. It will be at the union buildings, including the deputy president.
Okay, thank you very much. We'll keep our fingers crossed until that address. Thank you so much, South African Bureau Chief Betty Dibia. Thanks for joining us.
Thank you.
Still ahead on the program, Nigerian singer Temilade Okpeni, popularly known as Tems, wins Grammy Award. We'll bring you the details of these and more when we return. Stay with us. Welcome back. Members of the Diplomatic and Defense Corps in South Africa have shared their good wishes for Nigeria ahead of the general election starting later this month. The event was the Armed Forces Remembrance Day hosted by the Defense Advisor to the Nigerian High Commission, Commodore Chikaji Isaiah, in Pretoria, South Africa, to honor fallen and living heroes who have dedicated their lives to the nation.
The well-attended event was all nice and dry at the start, but right after the bugle call, the last post rent the air, the heavens opened up. Nigeria's High Commissioner to South Africa, Ambassador Mohammed Manta, commended members of the armed forces for their many sacrifices for the nation and indeed the world. For Nigeria's Defense Advisor, Commodore Chikaji Isaiah, thoughts also go to the families of the fallen heroes left behind, as well as the heroes still in service.
Also, we pray that their comrades and colleagues will be strengthened and dedicated to continue from where they stopped towards ensuring global peace and security.
Many lost their lives. Others went missing in action. Yet others continue to suffer from varying degrees of incapacitation and psychological stress. And we will always remember all of those. Let us rise to work even harder to serve our people. Through our hard work, we shall reassure our nations that the people who paid the ultimate price for our freedoms did not die in vain.
As Nigeria heads towards elections this month, the guests shared good wishes for peace, stability, and smooth elections, especially in honor of those who have laid down their lives in service of the nation.
It's a sober reflection, indeed, a sober reflection, and a very good reason for us to keep being united and in peace in Nigeria.
Well, South Africa is for peace. And let there be peaceful polls that will be taking place.
I wish Nigeria a very peaceful and successful elections leading to very good leaders to take the country to the promised land.
I hope it is a peaceful election. I hope people come out and vote. This is the opportunity to actually elect the government that you want. It is something that we have in the UK. Sometimes not everybody comes out to vote, but it's very important that people do so. So I hope Nigeria takes that opportunity.
We know that people are really highly sensitized. Everybody is ready and willing to ensure that election is peaceful.
And pray that the elections will be free, fair and credible, that will be emulated by other countries within the sub-region and Africa in general.
The Nigerian Armed Forces Remembrance Day is officially on the 15th of January, but officers posted outside the country often wait to celebrate after that date. From Johannesburg, South Africa, Betty Dibia, Channels Television News.
And elsewhere, millions of voters in southern Ethiopia are casting their ballots today in a referendum to establish a new regional state. However, this is the third referendum being held in the country's south in the past 4 years. More than 3 million people are registered in vote in this election, which will be held in 6 sub-regional administrative units and 5 districts that have been part of the southern Ethiopian nation, nationalities and peoples region. The new region is to be called Southern Ethiopia Region if it gets majority of votes. Nigerian artist Temilade Okpeniyi, popularly known as Tems, has earned her first Grammy Award for her contribution to Future's hit single, Wait For You. Wait For You was a collaboration with American rapper Future and Canadian rapper Drake. The 65th Grammy Award hosted the world's greatest artists at the Crypto.com Arena in Los Angeles on Sunday, February the 5th. Tems, who's 27, is also the first non-mixed Nigerian female musician to win the prestigious award under the Best Melodic Rap Performance category. Shade Adu, who won the Grammy for the Best New Artist back in 1986, and Cynthia Erivo, who bagged Best Theatre Album in 2017, were British Nigerians. The Afrobeat singer has added this to her list of accomplishments following her Africa Future Awards win and, of course, her Oscar nomination. Let's bring in our entertainment correspondent, Bidemi Dairo, to tell us more about this big win for Nigeria. Hello, Bidemi. We should pop something out, right?
Absolutely.
I mean, I know this is huge for Nigeria, but tell us about the reactions to be coming in from the Grammys as Tems becomes the first indigenous. We've had Shade Adu, we've had others, but they were British Nigerians. But this, as a first Nigerian, allow me to say that.
Absolutely,
well,
absolutely.
What's the reaction?
Really an exciting time for African music, for Afrobeats, and for Tems herself. The reactions has been very, very loud. You know, you could see how even established American artists are very, very excited for her. You could see on the videos from the red carpet, DJ Khaled, Rick Ross, Mary J. Blige, all of them. Everybody just wanted to take a picture, give her a hug, and encourage her in the industry. So it's really big. But for me, two things stands out. It also means that the Afrobeat artists are making strong statements within the global music soundscape. Now they don't have to introduce themselves anymore. Everybody knows what Afrobeat music is. And then for Tems herself, I think this winner has finally put to rest the argument that female artists have to be sexualized or objectified before they get right to the top. Everybody knows that Tems is quite
hardworking.
Yes, very hardworking, quite conservative. Her lyrics are very clean. And look at where she is now, right at the very, very top. So young girls and young artists can look up to her now and say, okay, yes, I can do it, and I can do it without deviating from my morals, deviating from how I see life generally.
Okay, so I know this might also be debatable for some people. A lot of Nigerians do not know that Shade Adu and Cynthia Erivo, who won the Grammys some time ago, won 1986, I mean, we're British Nigerians, or are British Nigerians. Tell us about this. For those who, I mean, we're not born at this
absolutely.
time.
So it also speaks to how big Nigerian music has gone. We went from looking at people who have Nigerian origin to say, oh, this is one of us right at the top, to really, really having Nigerians that are local Nigerians, that are resident in Nigeria, that are Nigerians and they claim to be Nigerians right at the top there. So it speaks to how the music has grown and how the creative industry is doing very well in the industry.
Tems has also received another nomination for Album of the Year, right? As a featured artist on Beyonce's...
Yes, as a featured artist. So the way it's used to work, and if you notice, the Grammy, the Academy have changed the laws and the rules. So the way it used to work is when you have a nomination for a collection like that, you expect that you must have contributed at least 30% to that work before you could get be recognized as a nominee. But it has been changed now. So you see, initially you see where someone gets a feature, just features on a project that has 10 tracks, and because it's just you were featured on one track, you don't get nominee because it's not up to 33% of the work. But now, the moment you feature or you create any content for that our body of work, you get nominated. So yes, she would have gotten a double if Beyonce had won the Album of the Year category. Yes.
Yeah, and I love that Beyonce's album too. But I think it's safe to say Tems has earned her own place in the industry, right?
Absolutely, absolutely. A few weeks ago, Snoop was reaching out to her. You know what it means for Snoop Dogg to reach out to you and say, please, I want to get a collaboration. And she also has that Oscar nomination, you know. Maybe she has an EGOT in the making. Who knows, you know? Who
knows? Okay, thank you very much, Bidemi Dairo, entertainment correspondent. Thanks a lot. And this is where we wrap it on Network Africa for today. Thank you so much for watching. I'm Anne Mwawode.